Hey there, amplifiers. Thanks for tuning in. One of the things that is really important is tracking your actions and results. It's really important. And with technology, they make it easier than ever to get all this data and information. However, if you've been following growth amplifiers, chances are you know that it's not a matter of the quantity of stuff that you're tracking. It's important to know that you're tracking the right things. And our guest today is a rock star professional when it comes to creating dashboards. So they're customized. They help people focus on the right things so that they're ensuring they're taking the right actions to achieve their desired results. Jack Tompkins is the guest today, and he's been working on his mission of helping empower people and business owners with thousands of dashboards. He's put over 10,000 hours of building dashboards and analyzing them, and has been running the Pineapple Consulting firm since he was 26. He even won the Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2020 through the Best of Small Business Awards. So that's really cool. He speaks to audiences around the country, and he has really fun jokes about pineapples as well. Hopefully we can do some dad jokes on this. Dad and pineapple come together for this. Anyway, this is going to be a fun one. So tune in and get ready to take amplified actions. Jack, thank you for being here today.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I love the intro. I'm a certified nerd at that point. That's perfect.
Certified nerd. You're in good company. I'm a certified dork.
Perfect. Okay. The same pod.
Actually, technically, maybe not certified, but I like to keep it as part of my repertoire.
There you go. Okay. Very nice.
So let's talk about Pineapple Consulting Firm, a little bit about what you do. You're taking data and helping turn it into understandable decision-driving insights, but give us the backstory about why pineapples, and then we'll get into why dashboards are so important and maybe some tips on what people can do to amplify.
Yeah. I think I get the question all the time, why Pineapple Consulting? I'm originally from Connecticut. I was moving down to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was like, all right, Southern hospitality, that's a well-known thing. Let's see if I can jump on that bandwagon a little bit, right? And apparently when a neighbor moves in next door in the South, you give them a pineapple, welcome to the neighborhood. To your point earlier in the intro, it better be a right side up pineapple, otherwise you're giving some mixed signals. But I love the hospitality symbolism of the pineapple. And like a pineapple to me is like drinking out of a pineapple on a beach, having a pina colada on vacation. And none of that is even close to data at all. So I figured, all right, I do scary stuff to a lot of people, data. But pineapple is such this, I love pineapples. It's such a friendly, warm, welcoming symbol. I figured, all right, this is a good juxtaposition. Let's name the company Pineapple Consulting and make it hospitality focused. But our vehicle that we use is data. So it's been a really nice combo. And most people in Charlotte have forgotten my last name. They just call me Pineapple Jack now.
Pineapple Jack. I like it. Good name. It's definitely a differentiator.
Exactly. It is. But yeah, that's the story of Pineapple. And we've set out on that mission, to your point of what you said earlier in the intro. We're trying to help folks be more data driven. And that comes in a bunch of different formats. But seeing the pretty picture that is the dashboard is step one, maybe step two. And then step three is, all right, cool. Now you can see it. What are you going to do about it? Let's analyze it. Let's get recommendations. Let's actually make a data driven strategy. And that's been the super fun part because it's easy to get data. To your point, technology makes it easier than ever to track stuff. But what are you going to do with that stuff? And that's been the super fun part for us.
That is really powerful. I know I'm an advocate of tracking the right things, and I see it happen a lot. And you even mentioned it prior to us getting started. Stop tracking everything and start tracking what drives your main KPI. It's all about focus. I really love it. And shameless plug, sorry, it's really aligning with the new book that we've got coming out, The Amplified Advisor. And it's really talking about that idea of focus. One of the key things that we advocate for is measurement. And we suggest that you have a dashboard. We suggest you have a scorecard, but you actually help engineer them. You help them for fractional analysts that you work with. You also help with white label dashboards as well. Could you tell us more about how that process works? Give us some of the mistakes that people making, and then how you help people really get that focus and clarity.
Yeah, I'll start with the white label side of it too, because that's the most fun. I know kind of the audience is largely consultants, coaches, stuff like that. And that's our best partners, our best clients, honestly. So the white label side, just quick context, what we do is we'll partner with, let's just say whatever marketing agency or business coach or whatever, partner with them and then give their clients dashboards. And I'm not a salesperson at all. I'm not good at it. And so I leaned into something that was a win across the board. So We get new clients. Great. The business coach or whoever gets a value added service that they can give to their clients, higher retention, higher value, all that stuff. And the client gets something they can actually use to be data driven. It is a win across the board. It's been super easy and super impactful too. So some of the things that I've seen in the beginning of those conversations, talk about what people sometimes do wrong, is they want to track everything. People want to know down to the county, town that somebody came from, and what street they're on, and was it the morning or the afternoon? And some of that stuff is just, you're going to get bogged down in the weeds. I was given a presentation, somebody was talking about website data. Somebody raised their hand in the audience and they said, oh, what day of the week do you get the most traffic? And I was like, I have no idea. I don't care. And he was really proud because he stumped the data guy. I was like, yes, you did stump me. That's correct. But that's not a metric that matters. I'm focused on how many people convert from the website. And it has nothing to do with the day of the week because I don't have regular blog post drops or anything like that. So some people want to get down to that super, super specific level. And it makes a lot of sense to start with one thing. Start with just one thing, conversion from a website, and then layer on things that naturally lend itself nicely to getting more conversions on the website. And then you end up getting like 5 to 8 KPIs in most situations. And that's probably the most common mistake that I've seen is let's track everything as opposed to let's track the couple things to start that really matter.
I can agree with that. And I've also fallen for that fallacy. It's counterintuitive because your brain tells you the more data that you have, the better idea you'll have what's working and what's not. But the reality is, just like when you open up too many tabs on your computer, you're going to start not being able to focus. It's not going to work as well. And it's actually going to work against you. Whether you're setting too many goals or you're tracking too many metrics, unless you have a huge support team, right? Like NASA, maybe they can track all those metrics because they have a huge support team. But for the average small business owner, you need a dashboard and that's really focused on what really matters. So when you're helping businesses get clarity, how do you help them set up that dashboard? Because if you gave them the keys and just said, put what you want in there, people can start throwing everything under the sun. And then now they're using your dashboard, but they're overwhelmed and then they're not quite making the progress. So how do you help get that focus and clarity?
Yeah, we try and avoid the supermarket's sweep equivalent of, hey, what do you want in there? We talk about goals first. So let's not talk about data. Let's talk about what are you doing in your business, right? What's a goal for this year? Easy numbers, $1 million in revenue. Great. Okay. What do you need to get $1 million in revenue? We need conversions from our website and we need podcast appearances. Okay, great. Because those lead to leads, those lead to whatever. Okay. All right. I can see the strategy. I can see the goal. That all makes sense. Now, once we have the strategy understood, then we can talk about actual data points. And I don't care where the data points are coming from at this point, right? If it's conversions, great, we're going to track conversions. If it's leads, great, we're going to track leads, et cetera, et cetera. Then we finally get into, this is whatever step 3 at this point is, okay, where's this data actually coming from? Let's get some sources of truth. And now let's start building out this, what I call like a data roadmap. And it's basically just like, here's all the stuff going on in your business. Here's all the different sources of data. Here's the pieces that we care about. Let's focus on them, and then we can build the rest around it. So to avoid that, hey, let's just dump everything in here, starting with goals is the easiest way to do it, and it's the most effective.
I think that's great. You need to have focus and clarity on where you're going. And you know what's really surprising to me is when I wrote my first book, it was about a decade later. And one of the things, it's called Amplify Your Business, the Rockstar Professional's Guide to Marketing Results. And one of the concepts behind it was to define your bold vision, have clarity on what is it that you're looking to create. Long story short, I'm not even supposed to be highlighting that book. People didn't know where they were wanting to go. They were so caught up in the day-to-day whirlwind, they're being in the business and all the fires putting out, they lose clarity on where they're going. They lose clarity on what their goals are. So that is a big thing. I think it was great. You're helping them get clarity on goals and then getting defining, all right, now how we're going to get the data, how we're going to make this dashboard. What is the average timeline when you're working with someone to go from, hey, I'm connecting with you to have this initial conversation to now I've got a dashboard that is working for me?
Yeah. So we try and make it so it's an ongoing thing. So there's a lot of dashboards that are in continuous improvement phase. But to get something that is built, ready to go, final, usable, all that, like whatever terminology you want to throw on it, from initial conversation to fully publish, 4 to 6 weeks, call it a month-ish, something in that range, depending obviously on like complexity and stuff like that too. But it takes a little bit of time to understand the goals, then to dive through the data, then to understand the data sources, put it all together into something that's actually usable for them. Most people, it's tough to get them on anything more than a monthly meeting. So a month time frame actually works out pretty nicely though.
That's wonderful. And another thing that people will be, I'm sure, scratching their head on, how much does something like this cost? And being a past web designer, used to build websites back when you had to know the code to do it before you could just press a button or ask an AI to build it for you. People would ask, how much does this cost? And it was like, it's like asking how much does a house cost, because it's going to be different depending on many different variables. And it's really hard to give an exact quote. Yet sometimes I would say we have a starting at price to give someone an idea of what's the ballpark. So if they're looking for the Wix approach using template, or if they're looking to invest and do something more custom, we had an idea. So when people are asking you about price, how do you typically answer that question?
Yeah, so I give an average range, and I'll say it can go like, we link up with QuickBooks all the time. So like a QuickBooks dashboard that is quote unquote out of the box with a little bit of customization, it's like $1,000 and then a monthly fee kind of thing of in the neighborhood of 50 to 75, depending on how custom and stuff like that. So that would be close to like our starting at. And then an average dashboard to completion is between 5 to 7 grand. Most people end up just doing, we have 3-month minimums on our retainers. So they'll do a retainer for 2,000, 2,500, and it ends up being about the same price as a one-off project, but you get 3 months and you get analytics and you get unlimited scope creep. So most people end up doing that, but you're talking about like a per unit cost kind of thing in that 5 to 7 grand range.
That's affordable. And if you're thinking, oh, that's a lot, think about the cost of not paying attention to the right things and spending a bunch of time and money on things that aren't working. There's a cost to not doing things correctly. And if you want something that helps you make sure that you're paying attention to the right things and it's working, that's where an effective dashboard can come into play. Although there's an investment, we don't focus on cost, we focus on return on investment,
right,
and think about the impact that you could have when you're investing in a tool that can help you improve what you're doing. Now, one thing you mentioned with white label and advisors, partnering with advisors and coaches, the thought that comes up for me there is, all right, so do you have it set up now where you can create like a standardized dashboard that could be created for a particular firm and then shared with their client base at a different sort of way of doing that? Because that would be, if a CPA had 300 clients, it'd be a lot of money for them to try to cover that for all 300 of their clients.
Yes.
How do you typically work those relationships?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up too, because there's a bunch of different dynamics here. But at the end of the day, we have a really good client as a bookkeeper, and they've got about 90 clients that are on our dashboard. So we build the dashboard once. Therefore, it's a one-time investment, and then it's just per month per client. They pretty much just pass that on to their clients. So it ends up being net zero cost for them, but the return they get is crazy. They get a new client a month because of the dashboard. They keep clients on longer because of the dashboard. They have easier conversations. They save manual work. They do all this other stuff. We try and make it, like I said, not good at sales, but we try to make it as no-brainer as possible. And that build investment that we were talking about is on a per dashboard basis. So if you have one client on it, okay. If you have 100 clients on it, it's the same price as one client to build that, as long as you're in the same template. So try and make it scalable, not just for us, but for our partners and their clients.
I was hoping you'd say something like that, because that's realistic. And I know other firm owners would have that consideration too. And it would be investing in a dashboard for your firm and then having an offer, would you like a dashboard with that? Would you like fries with that? That's realistic. It's not a huge cost. You could either cover it or offer it as an elevated offer if people want it, if they're going to use it. But it would be hard to try to sell that to their clients on an every basis. And it'd probably be uncomfortable, as a lot of people in the accounting space feel uncomfortable in sales. And a lot of people have trouble with that. When you're helping clients that maybe have that interest and say, oh, that would be actually cool, I'd like to have a dashboard. I don't want to pay for it though, but how do I sell that to people? How do you support clients there?
Yeah, so we just signed on a new CFO company in New York, and they had that same thought of, great, this makes sense. We think it makes sense, but if our clients don't like it, then it doesn't make sense. So how do we actually sell it to our clients first? Then we can invest. So we had that conversation. We figured it out. We ended up doing just like a test, a couple like sample visuals, stuff like that. They showed it to their client. The client said, "Ooh, this is great. Can we have this, that, and the other?" And they came back to me and said, "Can we have that?" I said, "Absolutely." And now that we've got client buy-in, I've got our partnership buy-in, and it's all doable stuff. So we end up having that conversation. And for something like a partnership, we're always open to, I don't like giving things away for free because I think that devalues my service, but I'll do a free test. I'll do a sample run for sure. Why not? So yeah, like I said, it ends up being just whatever the easiest path is for everybody. That's the one I typically choose.
I like it. I'm also an advocate of not giving things away for free, but sometimes it is helpful to give a sample, give a piece, an example, because it's hard for people to appreciate the value that you provide if they don't get to experience it.
Yeah.
As an amplifier myself, who gets really categorized into being either a marketer or a coach, people are like, "Oh, marketer, I already have somebody doing marketing," or "I don't need a coach." But it's different when you have a specialist who works kind of like more like a CMO, who is looking for the dials to tweak, the bottlenecks, hidden opportunities to take advantage of and amplify results. And like CFOs, it's helpful to have that data, and then working with a company like yourself, Pineapple Consulting Firm, to help you get clarity on ensuring that you have the right data. So if you're connecting with people, some people are tuned in, and some people may say, "Hey, this is great. I actually want to connect and learn more about this." They can do that. We're going to tell them how to do that in just a minute. But some people may say, "Hey, maybe that is something for me to look into in the future, but I'm not ready to hire someone to do that now." What might be a starting point for people to begin tracking something and make some progress and avoid the mistake?
Yeah. So it's a good question. When people sign up for software, they sign up to say, okay, I'm going to do this because it solves this problem. Sometimes that works out perfectly. Sometimes it ends up being just a point solution, and you need to end up getting 5 different software to solve the problem. So regardless of what happens there, whatever software you have is going to have some sort of default dashboard. You're probably not going to like it. It's going to be like 30%, maybe 40% of what you actually want, but it's a starting point, right? Something like that is automatically tracked within whatever software you have. I almost guarantee it in pretty much any software. Then you can say, okay, I care about revenue, I care about profit, but I don't care that they're highlighting whatever, my travel and entertainment expenses. Okay, then I know what I'm focusing on. So then you can just say, all right, whatever software I have, maybe I can make some simple changes. Most things have AI and chatbots now, so you can say, hey, can you make something like this? And some will say yes, most will say no. But the point is, you're seeing the things that you like and you're focusing on them to start. If that individual software can't do it, drop it into a Google Sheet. Everything has a CSV export. Dump it into a Google Sheet, get the data that you need, and then pull out the 2 or 3 metrics that you want to see. Because I guarantee as soon as you start seeing, oh, my revenue went up this month, you're going to ask why. You're like, oh, that's right, we got a new client. Okay, cool. Wait, where did that client come from? Oh, it came from a podcast. Okay, cool. And then your mind is just going to naturally bring you along that path. And from that example, I've done that with multiple different clients, that exact same situation. And we just listed out 5 key data points that you need. So like you already know what they are. The point is just make sure that they're being tracked somewhere. It can be simple, doesn't have to be super fancy yet, but start with those things that you're already looking at. And then you can amplify from there.
Love it, sir. Well done. So people who might be interested in saying, I want to learn more and maybe have a conversation or get some examples, some samples, where could they go and what should they do?
Yeah. So the easiest place is our website, pineapplecf, as in pineappleconsultingfirm.com. Plenty of examples, dashboards, ways to contact me from there. You can also feel free to connect with me directly on LinkedIn. I think my email is on our support emails for sure on the website, but LinkedIn, you can connect with me directly. Our support email candidly goes directly to me too. So the website's the easiest place, and I would be happy to give demos, examples, all that stuff to anybody because like we kicked off with, I'm such a nerd for this and it's so fun for me. And I love seeing the light bulb click in other clients when they start being data driven. It's It is why I've been doing this for 6 years.
Awesome, Jack. That's really cool. So one of the traditional ways we end these interviews is you've shared some good information already, but if you could share something you've learned on your journey that might be helpful for someone on theirs, it could be related to business or anything else that in your life, just something that's surfacing at this moment. What could you care to share?
Lars, really appreciate you having me on. I forget if I said that in the beginning. Thanks so much for having me on. The thing that I've been really kicking around lately with my team and myself, just internally too, is the prioritization of being an entrepreneur is really difficult because you've got 18 different things that you should be doing. And what I've coached my team on and my leadership has coached me on is when you have those 18 different things going on, there's one thing that is sticking out the most. It is probably the actual first priority. So if you're able to chunk that into little bite-sized pieces, a lot of people get legitimate dopamine hits from checking a box and saying that I did that thing. If you're able to chunk things out and just take it step by step, it ends up being, you get out of the brain fog of, oh my God, what should I prioritize really quickly?
I love it. And you managed to throw in another pineapple related term with the chunking and pineapple chunks in there.
That was very subtle. Good catch.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much for tuning in. And I want you guys, if you're tuning in now and you're in business, whether you own a business or you're an advisor or a coach or consultant, if you not have a discipline of looking at a dashboard, I suggest that is something that you begin immediately. You could begin today. You don't need to wait till tomorrow. As mentioned, you could get a spreadsheet and just put one metric on there. Just like, what's the one thing I'm going to focus on? That discipline will help you focus, and what you focus on grows. So don't just listen, take an action, and keep on amplifying. Thank you so much. Appreciate for having you on and for you sharing with our audience.
Thanks so much.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.